Hello, I am Thomas, and welcome back to another episode of Stylized Station. And today we got another fun animation to check out, break down, and analyze. You guys have been bombarding me with this one, so I've been wanting to check it out for a while now. Sorry, I've been a little slow on this one. I've had a lot of other videos to go through. Hope you understand. But this dropped a few days ago. It's already at over 250,000 views. It's called Hugo Character Demo, Leading Man of the Apocalypse, Zenless Zone Zero, game that I play quite a bit and has some really fantastic animations. And there's a few special things about this animation that I really want to talk about, that I'm very excited to talk about. So let's watch the animation, break it down, and learn a few things about 3D art, okay? I'm excited. We're gonna watch the whole thing first and then break it down piece by piece. Let's get into it.
Focused.
Okay, got a cool bridge scene.
Whoa! This time is the leader of Mockingbird, the infamous Phantom Thief Syndicate.
Look at the music. Wait, that's 3D. That's super cool.
They often infiltrate high society gatherings with disguises.
Okay, we got some cool things going on here. Very Persona 5. Giving me big Persona vibes. Nice clean animation, some cool filters on these 3D models. Where's it going? That's cool. I like it. He's very slick.
Exit, like he's rubbing it in our faces.
Okay, we got some nice motion graphics. I like these motion graphics too.
One time, we finally had him cornered, backed into a dead end.
This music's bumping.
After him! Freeze!
Oh, smooth.
But the bastard found the perfect moment, smashed through a window, and jumped straight into a
Whoa, I love that shot.
Farewell, my friends. I shall return. Treasure doesn't shine bright.
Oh my god, the music! Okay, let's see this fight animation.
Covenant of darkness. I shall steal your light.
Ooh, he's slick with it. Ooh, oh, he's got a scythe scythe briefcase.
Before chasing the storm, one ought to learn to
Okay, that, damn. A couple things I want to point out. First of all, that music, oh baby, that was unreal. Music was beautiful, very Persona 5 personified. Can we say that 5 times fast? Persona 5 personified. So this first shot you see, we have this like sweeping bridge shot. As we go through it, you can see that individual pieces of this 3D scene are flashing. It's all doing this cool like transitional flashing stuff. Now you can do that in post-processing afterwards, after the fact, in After Effects. Maybe they're doing that, but there's some cool stuff you can do in 3D to do this as well. So maybe they're doing this straight in the 3D software, whatever software they're working at. And the way some games do this is there's something called the depth buffer. Now the depth buffer stores how far every pixel is from the camera. So it lets you apply effects based on distance, which is really cool. If you combine the depth buffer with something like a stencil buffer, for example, which is the same thing, but it's like a custom made mask that lets you tag specific objects. Like this is the player, this is the UI, this is this building, whatever. You can apply effects to only those parts. So if you're applying both of those effects at the same time, they let you control exactly where visual effects go. So you can use depth for like how far away this thing is, and the stencil for which specific object it is. And there's something else really cool that they're doing here. You might think this looks a little blurry, and I'm thinking that the YouTube compression and the fact that they're intentionally blurring the lens has something to do with it, but the background looks a little painterly, right? That's pretty cool. Well, that's actually something that they're doing in 3D as well, I think. And it's called the Kuwahara filter, right? Take a look at that. So as I click through these images, let me explain it. The Kuwahara filter is like a smart blur that smooths out colors in flat areas, but projects edges from getting smudged. The cool thing is you can combine this filter with a depth buffer, right? And then you can apply the Kuwahara filter on only the background. So that's why our boy Hugo here, it looks like he's a little more in focus, and then the background has this like cool filter on it. And you can see in this corner, there's some like cool grainy filter that they're using as well. I have no clue how they're doing that. I don't know how that works, but I'm sure it's a similar process. And he takes a step off, and then we've got all this changing in the background, and he falls off. And we get a really great transition into this cool shot where he's like hanging on, I guess what would be some sort of rope, and he calmly drops into this place that he's going to steal this thing from. It looks like they're using lots of really cool filters to make this guy look all these different colors. Like they're flashing the background, they're flashing him, and all this stuff is happening in 1 or 2 frames. So it creates this really cool, like stylistic, again, Persona 5 thing. Like watch this play out in regular time again. Look at all this flashing that's happening. It's super glitchy, super grainy. But then he goes, we got some nice anticipation, because with animation, before an event, like a big event happens, sometimes it's good to use something called anticipation and just hang it there for a moment to build up that tension, to build up that pressure, right? What looks better? Just bringing my hands up and snapping, or bringing my hands up and then snapping like that? What feels like it has more tension, right? Not the best example, but I'm just riffing. And then we get a shot of our man sitting on the throne. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have a crush on this guy. He's pretty sexy. One interesting thing here in this shot is as he goes up to swipe up this card, we get some more smearing as well, but you barely notice it, and it gives it like a really cool anime style effect that you don't notice consciously, but subconsciously something tells you in your brain that like, oh, this is pretty stylized. So I've animated a lot of stuff at a beginner intermediate level, and I gotta say, animating hands is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Look how realistic this hand animation looks. Ding, push it down, and then as he pushes it, the camera rotates almost like a screw, like he's screwing it in. That's kind of cool. It was a very tight camera motion. Very tight. What's that from? I think that's from Breaking Bad. I'm not gonna lie, this filter that they're using is like pretty intense, and they did not use it sparingly at all. And then the action starts. We get some real action shots here, so we get to see some really great animation here. So he's running down the hall being pursued by what looks like 2 police officers, and he is just flying, right? I like how he sort of moves in a zigzag motion, like he kind of dips to his left and then sort of like dips to his right on each step, right? It seems to be like coming in and out of grayscale, but there's always some chromatic aberration happening. If you watched 2 videos ago, we talked about what chromatic aberration is and how it works. But we get an animation where he sort of like pirouette spins up into the air over this guy's head, and then we get some stencil outlining again, where they sort of just like turn up the emission on him for 1 or 2 frames, and then they do it for everything except him. That's kind of cool. And he's still spinning. And while he's spinning, they've got these beautiful arcs that his hair is doing. If you look at this frame, you know exactly which direction he's spinning, right? And the hair does a really good job at explaining that. Let's look at that again. Let's look at that sequence again. Right, left, boom, gone. Like, I wonder how long, I can't even imagine how long that sequence took. He pulls the hat down and things just start to go, this is where things go crazy, right? We get some inverted filters again, and then things pull away, and it just starts going crazy. He jumps out the window, and this shot is super cool. I love how symmetrical it is. One cool thing to note is that he sort of starts like out of control and then takes a second and gains control of his composure as he's falling again, just like how you would in real life when you jump out of like an airplane. I don't know, I've never done it. And then as he starts to fall into this like black hole, things start to get a little weird, right? I mean, they've already been weird, but reality starts to distort. We get some cool Ben Day dotting, which we talked about in the last video also. He sort of like bursts through the hole, and then the spin, he was spinning so violently it like kicks his legs out, and then he brings them back in to control his landing, and then we get this boom, really cool landing animation where the foot in the right hand side is like huge. This leg is kicked out. I didn't notice this when we first I didn't notice this pose in the first shot, but damn, this looks really cool. And when he lands, there's like some cool 2D effects of his foot as well. Like, let's look at that in regular motion. Boom. Super cool. One cool thing to note is that these anime games, even though they're 3D, they still use a lot of 2D anime tricks. In anime, if you have hair over the eyes, what they'll do is make the hair semi-transparent just where the eyes are. Now, I don't know how they do that in 3D, but they're probably doing something with custom stencils and masking again, where anytime hair passes over the eye, that part of the hair becomes transparent so you can see the full expression of the character. Anyway, I'm getting too technical here, but the camera pulls back. We get some 2D effects as he Batman throws it out, and it reveals that there's an ethereal standing there. We get some really cool stencil stuff here. I'm gonna try this. I want to try this on my next animation. And I love the pose that the ethereal is in, like the hip the hip thrust out is always like a really strong pose. And I like the balance in this shot. This side is very heavy and then this side is very light, and it creates this like balanced asymmetry. I really like it. And then the ethereal noticed him and like the eyes shift quickly and he turns around real quick. So he's standing there, senses him, realizes him instantly on sight. My boy is on sight, instantly attacking him. Place is very dangerous. Hugo has been in this world for 0.2 seconds and he is getting jumped already. Something interesting that they do here is that they sort of do it in like a double shot, and that's something that I've noticed that they do in kung fu movies. So we get this first shot of it, the blade, this energy blade is clearly left the station, right? But then the second shot here, it does it again. It's left again. So they sort of do this like rewind. Kung fu movies do this with kicks and punches to really emphasize the hit. When they land a punch, there'll be the same punch from a different angle, and then the same punch from a different angle, and then a different angle. They'll just do it over and over again. It's a stylistic choice. And they do that here to add some emphasis to the shot. Take a look. Fires, and then in a split second fires again. Take a look. Fires, double, like a double shot, just to add some extra emphasis to it. Instead of getting out of the way, he like reaches for his hat. And as the blade passes through, you can see he's gone, but in the next frame, it's like sort of, he's like red and blurred. So for a split second, it makes it feel like he's been hit, right? But then in a few frames, all that's left is his hat. That's a really cool animation. That's so anime, dude. That is so anime. It's like those Naruto, it reminds me of like early Naruto when they would do that like substitution jutsu with the logs. That's what that felt like. Except this, my boy did it with a bowler. Take a look at that whole sequence again. Like, how great does this look? On sight, boom, boom, gone. So good. So good. Also a small animation thing. The wind is so strong that it's like made the hat ripple. You can see they've rigged the hat so that it like rippled in the wind a bit. That's cool. Didn't have to do it. And the ethereal stands up again and boom, he's there again, just mogging him. Then he smiles at him. He's got like a cheeky little smile. That damn smile. Oh man, we're having fun today. Now this is right before they dash at him. So there's some cool anticipation here that I want to show you. There's like a few frames where he like leans forward for a split second instead of just dashing, right? He like sort of leans forward and the camera tilts and then he, boom, he's gone, which is really cool. The camera sort of like pulls back to make room for him like dashing in front of the camera, and it's very claustrophobic. Like he's in your space already. It's been a few frames. He goes from the right side to the left side to the right side and then back to the left. Camera pulls up. Hugo's standing there and they get this awesome like hero pose, and he comes in for the slash and Hugo is reacting as well, and he throws his briefcase and parries in the air, grabs it, pops out into an ice scythe. Hang on. This is a lot going on here. As he's coming in, he throws the briefcase. The briefcase is no longer in this man's hand, and he uses that to parry. Pretty dope. And then we got lots of cool like background colors switching stuff. There's a lot going on in this scene, dude. There's a lot. And then it starts to transform mid-air, and he reaches out hand behind, no looker. He's grabbing a no looker, and the camera changes, and then it seems to like pop out into this like massive scythe. And he reminds me of who's that character from Hunter x Hunter? The guy with the long white hair. Like, who's that guy? Kind of reminds me of the scythe, right? I also love the way that he's wielding this thing. It's like big. It's like a big heavy thing, and so he's sort of using all of his body weight to control it. It's not that he's weak. Because the scythe is so big and heavy, his center of gravity is actually a little higher up, like near the blade. So he's kind of like hunched down and over to compensate for that. And as he spins, the blade shoots up in the air for the first attack, and we get a few frames of pausing, again, for some anticipation. And we get this like cool flashing effect on the blade. That's not a reflection, right? That's a 2D graphic that they're putting in there. And it comes down and boom, sidesteps it. And then the impact creates some sparks in the foreground, and that like blurs the whole camera. There's a lot of really cool camera movement here. So Hugo has missed here, but the centrifugal force and like the weight of this weapon is kind of like carrying him around this way, clockwise. But our ethereal has already dodged it, and he can move a little quicker. So he's like moving around, he's spinning around. He goes up for an attack right here, but Hugo's already coming back around, and so instead he has to dodge. And look at him, he's doing some spinning shit. Look at him, he could have just gone in for a strike here. His body is in the right position to do another hit, and the weight of this thing is coming around this way. He could have hit him really hard. Instead, he flips it. So instead of coming around, he goes, flips it to parry this guy's hit. Boom. Impact frames can be really simple. All you have to do is make the first shot like really contrasty and white. So like white in the center and then sort of black on the outside. And then you flip it, black in the middle, white on the outside. And you can do that 3 or 4 times if you really want, but they just do it a couple of times here. And we get some more anticipation as he winds up for the hit, and boom, full body strike, tip going right into the ethereal, and he gets the block on the last second. This fight is so sick. Now, because of the way that he's positioned his body, he's also set himself up for another hit. If you look at his back leg, that thing is cocked and ready to go. And then before the leg comes in, we get like a swooping effect. That's actually really cool. So it feels like it was so fast that the hit almost like kind of registers before boom, before he even realizes what's happening. That's actually really cool. Like take a look at that. Swipe comes in and then boom, the hit happens. Some of these poses really remind me of Sanji from One Piece. Maybe they're using some reference there. In these shots that we barely see, look how quick that is. You barely even see it. Let's take a look at that sequence again. Dash, 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 slice, parry, boom, boom. Like crazy sequence. Like how long does that I can't even imagine how long that took. Anyway, the ethereal gets blasted away, but he sort of recovers after the initial impact, like almost instantly. But the force of the kick sends him back, so he has to like sort of bounce a few times to get his footing. But that gives the other guy, Hugo, enough space to kind of come in and do his like final flashy attack. And he comes in and does a big slash, right? But the cool thing is they add some more anticipation here, right? Like he flies in full speed. They hold it for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. They hold it for a lot of frames there, right? And you'd think that if I told you they held something for like 15 to 20 frames, that would feel like too much. But take a look at the shot. It doesn't feel like too much. It's close though. Let's talk about this character pose for a second. There's something about good character poses that when you look at them, they feel good. They just feel amazing. And this one is no exception. I think the main thing here is because of the balance in the pose. If you look closely at this shot, you can see that Hugo is in a perfect X shape. You've got the scythe coming up this way, and then you've got the leg transitioning into the hair. So it creates like a beautiful X. And guess what? It's only 1 frame. It's only 1 frame, but it feels amazing. He's got this like, he looks like Jordan right now. He's about to dunk on him. He's like walking through the air. And then they start on other sides of each other. And then we get a quick second of anticipation here again as they get into their poses. And then before the ethereal on the left has a chance to go in, Hugo's already on him. And then we get this awesome dashing scene where he seems to hit him from like every angle. Now, the cool thing about this is that it looks like this guy is moving lightning fast, but there's actually like 0 character animation coming from Hugo's perspective anyway. Hugo is standing down here in the bottom left, dashing in, and then he's gone. It's just really VFX and hit effects and like dashes and VFX. And then he's over here. But this isn't animation. It's just like a duplicated, semi-transparent version of the character. There's not any animation happening there. And then it disappears, and there's another one over here. But he's not actually moving. He's not animated. The hair doesn't even move. And then there's not really much animation to this either. He's just in an awesome pose. Look how great this scythe is. Look how cool that looks. So he spins around. He uses this moment of hit stun to get near him, puts the scythe on his foot, and boom! Kicks the scythe through. Look at this pose. Look at this action pose, man. You guys better be taking notes. This is so cool. This is super anime, super anime. Now, in the next shot, the blade is over here and like Hugo's over here. I don't really understand why that. I don't understand why that happens. But at this point, I am so turned on that I don't even care. And he pulls his hair back, puts his hat on, gives a little spin on the fingers as our guy dies in horrible pain in the background, stumbles to the ground, collapses, and we get some big hit effects. And then he shatters and we get one more Persona 5 style action pose. I don't even know what to call this. This is awesome. This is what a ride. What a wild ride. Man, I love breaking down combat animations and seeing how they work. That was super cool. And we learned a little bit today about like Kuwahara filters, custom stencils. So I'm happy. That was solid. All I know is that this is one sexy man. All right, I'm done. I got nothing else to talk about.